we know that this is recording us? Because that one will. And then when it's green, that makes it on that
What scares me, it's so quiet.
Before the storm.
Better not be a storm. In fact, I'm really. What about boots? Two minutes to go. You sure you want to be typing on this? Seems like a courtroom. When she was doing this stuff. And then she used to have a buzzer in here and she buzzed people if they copy too fast. That's how I learned to be quiet.
No, we can go to the next one, so we should be coming. I don't know how to read.
All right, sign this one, see? All right, now that my hands worn out, will I do anything else? What about minutes? You got minutes for me? Do you need minutes?
I have it in.
You want this? You got minutes? So you got minutes?
Do you know your mouth and then the two levels? You know? Two chunks. I'll show you.
Oh, excuse me, I'm on
She got the,
What's
got a
good?
dollar bill paper and then negative paper.
Her money.
Currency. Try it again. Time is 6 p.m. and we will call this meeting to order.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we gather together tonight to conduct the business before us for the benefit of the citizens of Richwood. We're able to do this because of all the gifts you have given us, the gifts of wisdom, discernment, patience, and a desire to do all we can to the best of our abilities. Please be with us, guide us, and use us. We pray for our first responders, our council members, our staff, and our residents. We pray for the leadership of our county, state, and country. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Looks like the record flag we have one council member absent. Thank you. Here, can you do it? Pretty good. We have one person that wants to talk for public comments. Unfortunately, we don't have any time tonight, sir.
Yeah, you know, I gotta talk to Roy like that today.
Actually, main reason I'm up here is, most of y'all already got to the end for me about this. I figured I know y'all can't respond now, but, just in case this isn't covered under that ordinance that's on the, that 26-541, I thought I'd at least bring it up here now. And if it is, y'all can discuss it at that point. You know, there's a lot of talk lately, and I think that's part of the reason for this ordinance, about the abandoned homes and things there. a lot of their concerns are, property values. But I'm gonna go with it, my concern is gonna be a little bit different, probably make some of them, what I wanna discuss is probably gonna make property values worse rather than better. And that's the reason, hopefully, this is part of the ordinance, so city attorney can, maybe put his input. I know that a lot of these abandoned homes, you can go months, even years before city can get their hands on them and do anything with them. But I'm kind of wondering the legalities of, maybe one thing the city can do is, since the city has an easement around these homes, just to, because I'm going to part of the safety of these kids. You can already see the one house that's got the roof caved in, you can see where kids are already throwing lots of stuff, breaking the windows. But maybe on the perimeter around the houses, where the easement is, they would at least put up maybe some kind of security fence that the owner of the home still has access to it, but it keeps the kids out. Like I said, y'all can't discuss it now, but I would kind of like, if that is covered by that ordinance, it's on the later, if the city attorney can have his input on whether or not we could do that legally. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's all we have for that. I know you're going to speak on your topic, so let's move on. Consent agenda. A, budget report March 2026. B, budget report April 2026. C, fiscal year 2026 investment report quarter 2. And D, approval of minutes from regular meeting held May 11th, 2026.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Gentlemen. Next up is a presentation. Hey, Keep Richwood Beautiful presentation presented by Ms. Margaret McMahon, Executive Director, State of Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, all. As noted, I'm Margaret McMahon. I am your Executive Director of Keep Richwood Beautiful. And I would like to just simply give you our annual report of what we accomplished, some of the main things we accomplished in 2025. Just a small snapshot of what we've done thus far in 2026. As I say, I'm the Executive Director, and my job is administrative. I keep up with all the data, I organize events, I do the publicity, I maintain the data and submit whatever Keep Texas Beautiful needs, as well as the Texas Litter Database. I ensure that we meet all the requirements for our goal to be a Gold Star affiliate every year. We currently have 6 board members, and I am thrilled. At one point, I had been here 2 years, and at one point, we had 2. So this is tremendous. We have 6 very active board members, very enthusiastic with great ideas. Per our bylaws, we can have 9, so we are 2/3 at max, and I find that very, very exciting. They are the workers of the organization. For 2026, well, actually, it's for what we did in 2025, but for 2026, we once again have met and actually exceeded all the requirements necessary for Gold Star affiliates. So we're very excited about that. Next. This is a lot in small writing, but I'm going to speak to you about these items in case you can't read that far. These are some of the things that we've done in 2025 and some that we are continuing to do that carry over into the next year. We manage the community garden, which is organically treated raised beds, fruit trees, composting bins, textile recycling bins, a gazebo, and picnic tables. In 2025, we donated over 300 pounds of food to the community and also to the food basket, include. We conducted recycling initiatives of electronics and eyeglasses. We donated those eyeglasses to TSO, and then they identified students from our participants at the Boys and Girls Clubs, the local clubs here, and they redo the prescriptions and fit them with these glasses and donate those glasses to kids in our community. We maintain a kiosk at City Hall with environmental and beautification literature and free items for both children and adults. City administrators, our mayor, and high school student volunteers. We were very excited. I've only been here 2 years. You may have had a lot of student participation in the past, but at the fall cleanup in 2025, that's the first time that I've been able to get high school students to come. I have made contacts with, or they are sending this out to all their student organizations and their athletic groups, and we had some student volunteers, and that was very exciting for me. In 2025, the total collected from both our fall sweep and our spring cleanup was 473.32 pounds of litter. And I found that great that we could make that impact. So I did submit that data and demonstrations and contests at local elementary schools, as well as distributed the TCEQ Take Care of Texas Lone Star Recycling Activity and Sticker Books to over 500 children at Polk Elementary and Our Lady Queen of Peace. We funded the community garden gazebo refurbishment, which was beautifully accomplished by the Public Works Department, and also the vegetable stand refurbishment and the addition of the stand's permanent cover for the produce offered, which was expertly accomplished by Cantu's Remodeling in Richwood. With Public Works, we facilitated and planted trees at Ellis Park, and with donations and help from Alpha, Gamma, Kappa, Omega, we planted fruit trees at the community garden. We also re-landscaped the entrances at City Hall and the PK Forest Community Center. We participated in all city events and distributed environmental and beautification literature and free items for both children and adults, and that included the Easter egg hunt, All-American Night, National Night Out, and Trunk or Treat. We also hosted 2 Texas AgriLife and Missouri County Master Gardener educational presentations to the public at City Hall. We have fantastic door prizes that we give, and we've had a tremendous growth in response. Our first presentation, I think we had 4 people, that's not counting the board members that were here. And the most recent one that we had on container gardening, we had 19 people here. So that was a huge increase, and the word is getting out there that we are doing something. We conducted a Yard of the Month program where we give a $25 gift card, trash grabber, beautification literature, and a KRB t-shirt. We also have special Yard of the Month. We have a spookiest Yard of the Month and a Christmas Yard of the Month. They get all the stuff in the goodie bag and the grabbers, but first place receives a gift card of $250, second place $100, and third $50. And all first-time volunteers, if you come and volunteer with us either at the garden or at some of our cleanups or any of our other events, you get a goodie bag and a KRB t-shirt. Next, please. Here's a picture. Here's some photos of before and after of the gazebo. It was re-roofed, it was repainted, woodwork was repaired. Public Works did an exceptional job. It looks brand new, and thank you so much for leading that and that help that you give us that you don't have to do. So thank you so much. Next, please. Here's some photos of some of our events. You see the trash bags. That was our our fall sweep last year. The next one, as you go left to right, from the top, was part of our Earth Day presentation where the children were actually doing interactive activities. We had different boxes and buckets that were labeled like paper, plastic, metal, and we had items for the kids to decide and put them where they were supposed to be in the box. The next one is me at our table that we bring to every event, and we keep a board there of our activities and also some literature. The next is the refurbished vegetable stand and community garden shed. A lot of the scope of work for that shed was actually donated. We did get a quote for what we wanted done, and Cantu's Remodeling went above and beyond and donated the rest, like the painting and replacing the poles and things of that nature. Bottom row left is Alpha Gamma Kappa Omega volunteers. They are a sorority out of the greater Houston area, and they donated fruit trees for us and helped us plant them. The next photo is on that same date. We also had an activity for students. We had a children's planting day at the garden, and they received their own children's garden hand tools kit, as well as a pot and seeds, and they planted them themselves, and they were given instruction sheets and details on the specific seeds they planted on how to care for them. The next was back one, I'm in the next photo, I apologize. Was our recycling bins for eyeglasses and electronic cords, and then the final one on that slide is our refurbished beds at the garden. Next, please. Then we just have some of us at our events that we attended. The center was me presenting the booklets to both the principal at Our Lady Queen of Peace and Gladys Pope. Then we had one of our members serving at All American Night. Then us planting in a storm, the landscaping at City Hall. And we received a very, very nice thank you for doing that. Next, please. So in 2026, I was invited to speak at Our Lady Queen of Peace School Library Remodel Dedication Ceremony. And the next one is Kimberly Mayer from the AgriLife Extension Agency. She did a presentation on container gardening. It was outstanding. If you missed it, you really missed something. I was invited by the City of Freeport's Beautification Committee. Apparently they had heard or seen some of our activities that we did, and they wanted me to come and speak to them and let them know what we were doing and how we were able to accomplish what we were doing. So that was really a privilege, and I was very happy and honored to be there for that. Next. We had an Earth Day coloring contest, and we just picked it by a random drawing. We had all the sheets turned, the colored section turned face down, and we shuffled them all around like cards and just picked one. And we drew Katie Hallman. And that is her coloring sheet that she won, and she received a fantastic gift basket that also had the Richwood raccoon, stuffed animal, and a $50 gift card. Next. Finally, I'd like to thank all our supporters. We could not have done this all without help. Next. First, our high school student organizations and athletic groups. These are young, strong people that can help us with a lot of the tasks that sometimes are a little more challenging for us. And their enthusiasm is contagious. We were excited to have them. Next, our churches. Adults and youth. We've had a local church who has 30 children in youth groups from second grade through intermediate school that's interested in working the garden and helping us at the garden. So we are very excited to be embracing that. Next. Public Works, City Administration, and City Council. If you were not for us, we could not succeed. Next. And then also the Richwood residents. I have spoken with Keep Texas Beautiful personnel before. When I fill out, every time we have like a litter sweep, or I do independent spot litter pickups and turn in that data, they'll ask how many plastic bottles did you pick up? How many this did you pick up? How many that? Well, a lot of them I have 0, 0, 0. And so I was called by one of the Keep Texas Beautiful officials, and they said, I just want to make sure this is correct. I said, it is correct. We have a very clean community. We have a community that takes pride in their property and takes care of their city. And so that's not common. That's not common. So I want to thank them for that. Next. And finally, thanks to all of you for keeping Richwood beautiful and environmentally responsible. Remember, there is no Planet B. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to discussion and action items. A, discussion regarding the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget process and timeline, including a general overview from staff and council feedback regarding priorities and initiatives for the upcoming budget year.
Mayor and council, it just seems crazy that we're here again, starting to talk about budget, but here we are. I usually start this because not all of you are degreed accountants that know everything there is to know about governmental accounting. So I want to just quickly give you my version of Governmental Accounting 101. All governments use fund accounting, which is like different buckets for different purposes. Each bucket is managed as its own entity, but yet they work together. So each fund is used to track the amount of cash assigned to different purposes and the usage of that cash. The motive is not profit, but rather accountability. Businesses, this is a quote from the GFOA Blue Book, which GFOA is Government Finance Officers Association. They're kind of our guiding organization. Businesses are operated with a profit motive, whereas governments exist primarily for providing services. Businesses focus on whether revenues earned were sufficient to cover related costs, whereas governments focus on whether inflows of spendable resources are sufficient to cover outflows. So we don't operate on a profit. We operate so that we can cover the services that the city needs. Okay, the next one. In our general fund, which is the operating fund of the city, our goal is to set a tax rate for our maintenance and operations that will provide for the necessary services provided by the city, as well as a reserve for future capital outlay and unexpected needs. Our enterprise fund, sometimes you'll hear us call it the water and sewer fund, it operates a little more like a business. Our goal is to set utility rates there that will provide for the operation, repair and maintenance, and the debt obligation repayment requirements, as well as a reserve for future capital outlay and unexpected needs. Okay. Governmental funds are further designated with these designations. Non-spendable, that would be like our streets. We can't go out and spend a street. Restricted means that they are externally, meaning something from the outside restricts their use. An example of that would be in our transportation fund, our sales tax revenue there is restricted to just seats because of the election, when that was set up, restricted that to streets. Committed are resources subject to constraints imposed by you guys, the city council. An example of that would be our replacement fund, where we have committed that money to purchasing equipment or vehicles or for the fire department needs. But you guys can change that if it would ever have to be. And then assigned, they're earmarked for a particular purpose. And that can sometimes be through a purchase order where we've assigned X amount of dollars to pay for a purchase. And then unassigned is everything else that we can spend how we deem appropriate. In the business side, the enterprise fund, it's net investment in capital assets. So our plant for sewer, water, restricted are similar to restricted in the governmental side. And they can either be externally enforceable constraints like laws, or they can be set aside to satisfy liabilities like our debt. And then unrestricted are the things that we can use for operating. Okay. So Richwood has several governmental funds. We have our general fund, which like I mentioned, is for the operating of the city. This is where our ad valorem or property tax revenue is booked, our franchise tax, our sales tax, court, all the miscellaneous revenues. We also have a replacement fund, which we set aside a certain amount every year to go toward future purchase of equipment, vehicles, or fire department equipment and vehicles. We have a contingency fund, which is set aside, we can put up to 10% of our expenditures into that every year to cover unexpected expenditures like that H word that comes from the Gulf, or for capital projects. And it can be used at the discretion of the council. Court security and technology funds, those come from fees that are charged on tickets. And they can be used, they're restricted for use in security or technology of the court. The cameras came from those funds. Transportation fund was set aside maybe 7 years ago to accumulate sales tax and transportation fees that are restricted for streets, sidewalks, and drainage. Our general obligation, INS, that means our debt fund. That's where we accumulate money through ad valorem taxes to pay our debt requirements. And then our grant fund is where we record the receipt of grant funds and the use of those funds. The business type funds we have are the water and sewer fund. We have an inflow and infiltration reserve fund, which I think that's like water seeping into our sewer, I think. But we reserve money for that every year to go toward future maintenance and repairs. And utility capital improvement fund, we set aside money there also for future capital improvements. That's where impact fees go, as well as a portion of our utility rates. Then we have two component units. One is the Crime Control and Prevention District. They have their own fund. Their revenue is primarily sales tax that was through an election earmarked for them, and it can only be used for their purpose of supporting the Richwood Police Department. And then our beautification fund, which we just heard all the wonderful things they do with that. That's the KRB fund. Any questions so far? I expect you to pass the exam at the end of my presentation. Okay, this is a lot of small writing, but you guys each have a copy of this to take home with you. This is our fund balance. The last column is as of 10/1/25. Fund balance is adjusted at the end of every fiscal year. So we started this fiscal year with these amounts there. I have them separated by governmental funds, by enterprise funds, and by funds held by the city, like for CCPD and KRB. GFOA recommends that all governmental bodies maintain a minimum of 60 days of either, you can base that 60 days of either revenues or expenditures to be maintained. Our auditors, because we live in a high-risk area, recommend we go more to 120 to 180 day fund balance and held in reserve. Okay, this is our contingency fund. This had a zero balance when I came 6 years ago. We have built it, as you can see, as of the end of April. While fund balance doesn't get adjusted till the end of the year, if it was adjusted on April 30th, we would have about $1.9 million in there. Sounds like a huge amount of money. But after Beryl, we spent about $1.2 million. We were lucky because we didn't have to borrow. We didn't have to rob Peter to pay Paul. We were able to pay everything we needed to pay to get restored after the storm without going into any kind of debt. These funds are invested in pools with the state so that they earn interest. And you can see that interest is pretty sizable every year. Okay? Then this is our replacement fund. Our replacement fund is divided, as I've mentioned before, equipment, vehicles, or the fire department. And this is going back to 2019, what's gone in, what's gone out. What isn't allocated is primarily interest. There was an audit adjustment a few years ago. When we sell vehicles, if the police department gets a new vehicle and we sell the old one at auction, that money goes back in here. So this, the bottom line down there is what we have available right now to spend on replacement. The cost of a fire truck is about, I think, 600, 1 million.
Close to between 700,000.
So as you can see, this is underfunded because we don't have enough. Really, we could buy one vehicle maybe. So that's underfunded, and but we did spend 60,000 out of it last year to buy a vehicle for Public Works. But this is an area where we should look seriously at additional funding. Okay, next one. Our transportation fund, as I mentioned, was set up for street, sidewalk, and drainage. All of the expenditures that Cliff incurs for maintenance or capital construction of those three categories goes through this fund. Every utility bill has a $5 transportation fee on it. That goes into this fund, and then 0.5% of all taxable sales in the city of Richwood goes into this fund, and it is restricted to use only on streets. So the transportation fund can be used for all three categories. Sales tax can only be used for streets. And then interest, again, I have the money invested in a pool, and it can be used for any of the three categories. So as of 9/30/25, the end of this last fiscal year, our fund balance was just over $1 million. Of that, $475,462 is restricted to streets. The balance can be used for any of the three. Any questions? Okay. This is a listing of our debt that we carry. At the top is a description of why each bond series was issued. And at the bottom, that is our requirement for this year. When our tax rate is determined, the county tells us how much we need based on our assessed values, how much of a percentage we need just for debt, so that our debt fund, our INS fund, will accumulate enough money to pay our debt requirement for the year. The yellow highlighted issuances are paid by our INS fund. So those are paid by tax revenue. The blue ones are paid by our enterprise fund, and so that's figured in when we calculate our utility rates, what that costs. Now, Kirsten and I had a discussion earlier today. You'll see there's a City Hall loan at the bottom of that listing. That was taken out when this building was, whatever they did to it. It was a motorcycle shop before, I guess. We have $110,000 out of $300,000 left on it. If we paid that off, if I called the bank and said, what's our payoff as of today? We could pay that off, and that would reduce that debt rate slightly. And that is up to council. Otherwise, we make quarterly payments of $5,187 every 3 months, and the total interest is $4,500. We have 5 years left on it, so you're talking $22,000 of interest. So if the city council decided, we could go ahead and pay that off, perhaps take it out of our contingency fund to get that paid, or it could come out of fund balance of the general fund, either way. Any questions on that? Okay. All right, I highlighted and turned it red, the word early, because this is a very preliminary look at property values and ad valorem tax for this coming fiscal year. The county gives us preliminary numbers so we can start planning, but we won't get firm numbers till the end of July, first part of August. So our appraised values is at 642 million, almost 643. Homestead cap is a state cap, and I tried to figure it out. It caps the home, where you live, it caps you at a certain amount. And then the 23.231 cap, that's used to be called the circuit breaker. So those come off of our assessed value. Then there are state exemptions of 38 million. Then we have local exemptions, and these are all set by council. We have a Freeport exemption, which has nothing to do with the city of Freeport. It has something to do with inventory that goes through a facility, that they're not taxed on it. We have one business in town.
Sorry.
We have one business in town that takes advantage of that, to the tune of 1.2 million coming off the assessed value. Homestead is just that. It's, if you live in your residence, you get a homestead exemption. We have an over 65 exemption and a disabled. You get one or the other, 65 or disabled. So our net taxable value is 577 million. Of this, 7 million approximately is new additions or improvements, property that was not on the rolls a year ago. So we've gone up 10.4% from last year, and of the increase, 13.4% is due to new or additions. So if we were to take our new assessed value times our existing tax rate, you would come out with a revenue of 3.2 million, take off our debt payment requirement of 445,000, and we would have 2.7 million of revenue coming into the general fund. It is an increase of 302,000 from last year. There's a lot of ifs in that because we don't know what the bottom line will become by the end of July. Okay, you can go on to the next one. So it sounds like, woo, we got an additional 300,000. Sales tax is tracking low. I am currently projecting that we're gonna be 60,000 lower next year than what we budgeted for this current year because we are not gonna hit what I projected for this year. Sales tax is lagging. And then other revenues, that includes port, which is citations, rentals, franchise tax, permitting, new building permits and that type of thing. I'm predicting is gonna be down 82,000. So right now as it looks, we might have 158,000 additional revenue. So kind of takes a lot off of that 300,000. Right now, as we are working through budget numbers as a staff, we are hoping for a COLA increase of 4% for all employees. That will be determined when we see the bottom line. Our health and our property insurance rates aren't available yet, but our windstorm came due on June 1st, and our broker got it down 45,000 from last year. So that was about 25%. Our CCPD routinely transfers 15,000 to the general fund to help with police overtime. And then every year since I've been here, we've transferred to contingency fund and our reserve funds like replacement, I&I, and capital improvement. Those amounts will be determined as we get closer to a bottom line.
One of the expenses there is, property insurance and items. the, new, lay down yard purchase. Will any of that be seen in the fourth quarter of this one, or is all, any money's involved? The, lay down yard for they're purchasing,
Oh,
will we see that in the next fiscal year in terms
that'll
of
be next year,
insurance
yeah,
costs?
we may, well, once we own it, we'll have to tell them, land is pretty low, so it shouldn't be much of anything, but I can't say for sure. But it could hit this year if we get it settled. Okay. On the enterprise side, we're looking at a 30-cent per gallon increase from BWA. We get about half of our water that we disperse to our residents from BWA. So we're looking at a gallon price of $5.26. Now included in that is 25 cents for debt service. 27 will be the last year that we have to pay that, correct?
Yes, sir.
So next year, hopefully, if we have an increase in on the operating side, the debt service will counter it. Right now in the budget, we have $110,000 in the water lines M&R for tank mixers for our 250 gallon elevated and 350,000 gallon North Water Plant ground storage tanks. Any residual from that 110,000 will be to paint the new tanks, or the new logo on the tanks. Sewer lines M&R includes 70,000 to reconfigure lift station 10 to equip with these things that Cliff wrote out that I don't know what they are. And again, rates, our water and sewer rates, will be determined and presented prior to final budget approval. Annually, our goal of the rates that we set are to cover operating costs of the enterprise fund, debt requirements on those two bond issues, and a reserve of 10%. Last year, we didn't go to that full amount, so we didn't budget for the 10% reserve. But he's pretty good at keeping costs low, so maybe we'll sneak some out. Okay. And that's it. So one of the things we want is some guidance from you if you have priorities on what you would like us to see to incorporate in the budget. In July, we will have a little more in-depth budget discussion. This one is kind of to get your feet wet so you don't feel so overwhelmed when we come with numbers, to see where we stand financially right now with our reserves and our fund balances. We are at about 2 million, just under 2 million in our contingency fund. That's probably the minimum I want it to be. As I said, just during Beryl, we spent 1.2 million. Beryl was a pretty minor storm from what I've heard. I'm a Yankee, so I haven't been through the big ones, but I've heard they can be even worse. So 2 million is about my minimum. We could start talking about not putting as much into contingency, but putting more into replacement. We could talk about using some of our fund balance to put into projects under Public Works for whatever he needs. We had a discussion today where we're gonna meet and we're gonna see the things that our master plan outlined for us that we're gonna need to do, and we need to start chipping away so we're not spending all of it at one time. We are very, very fortunate. This city is sitting at a good financial spot. Really, the only spot of concern I have is the replacement fund, because you can't buy much with what we have in there now. But so I would like to see that funding go up, but it is your decision when it comes down to it, you as council, where our money goes. We want to be fiscally responsible to our citizens, but we have to plan for the future. It's not fun to raise utility rates or raise tax rates, and I'm not saying we're going to have to at this point. I have no idea. But it's not fun, but sometimes it's necessary, so that we can keep going in a fiscally responsible path. So if you have any input or any questions for me on here.
I guess.
Hmm?
Or if I ask you, maybe one of the ones one of the things I understood, that our, last city manager did was, from what I understanding is, at some point last year, he froze all, off-site training, or, is that not true?
Mhm.
That's the impression is, that's the reason, now it's those reason the truck that's supposed to be used for that purpose is, the reason it hadn't been used is because all off-site training wasn't being allowed either.
We have maintained a healthy training budget in all departments since I've been here, and we've all been encouraged to pursue training. I'm not sure what the truck is.
With the, truck that, CCPD, actually owns, or the police department, from what I was told is because that truck can't be used as a, as a, street, patrol vehicle, that they had converted it to basically use for,
It was just used administratively.
administrative, travels.
It was used by the detective.
And they were said that it was never used, and at least that's what.
It wasn't used for patrol. It was used by the department, but just not by a patrol.
Primarily by the detective.
And that's where that conversation
Yeah.
came up.
There was no stop to training though.
Mhm. And right now, we don't have a detective officially on staff, so, and police department is down 2 people right now, so it's not being used. Anything else?
Tricia, what was the total amount on the building remodel one?
300,000.
The beginning or the amount left?
The amount left.
Oh, the amount left.
It was
110.
about 110.
So if you are of like mind that you would want me to get that paid off, we can do it immediately. I'm not, does that,
We might need to bring it back in July.
we can bring it
I
back
think
in
the-
July.
If we could get a consensus just in general, we have to let the county know what our debt obligation is. And if we could not include that in our conversation with, the tax assessor, then that will give us a lower INS rate.
Not significant.
I mean, it's not gonna be crazy, but it'll be a help. I just didn't see the point in, if we have $100,000 to pay for this, then why are we paying interest?
Mhm.
And also burdening the taxpayer
Right.
at this point on it.
Mhm.
I think we would need formal council action later.
But if we
But
can
we
get a
could at least-
consensus tonight, I could
Have a heads up.
give them a date and what will it be that day, because they'll calculate to the day the interest
Yeah.
due. And it won't be a significant amount off our debt rate, but, you know, I have a feeling when that loan was taken out, the city did not have the fund balance we have now. And, 300,000 was a huge amount. 110 left is, I'm not saying it's not a big amount, gosh, if it was in my bank account, it's a huge amount, but we could pay it off and, save that interest and reduce the debt rate to its bare minimum that it can be, which is the 4 bond issues.
Something to look into.
So if council has any other priorities they'd like to see us focus on, the next time that council's gonna see these budgets is when we're gonna have a little bit more firm numbers and a direction. I think everyone's mindset right now is to hold steady, try and stay as level as possible, other than taking care of employees. I think in our budget conversations that we've had so far, we've done pretty well in lowering where we can lower and maintaining. There's not very many line items that I saw us even increase.
Right.
Whereas, other than where we absolutely couldn't help it. But if y'all had any focuses or any kind of priorities you see for this upcoming year for us to look into, now is the time to just give us some guidance or give Trish
And we will have a budget workshop in July. Is that a special meeting? I don't have the calendar in
I
front
don't
of
think
me.
so. I think June was the only special meeting that
Okay.
we decided to push here, to give y'all kind of a high level overview of everything. And July's gonna be with the council meeting, and then August also.
And in July, I still won't have firm revenue numbers. We won't get our firm property tax numbers until the end of July, or first part of August. But we like to have a workshop in July to present you guys what we think we need to spend to operate this city. And as Kirsten said, I think we're all of like mind that with everything that's changed this year and, practically brand new council, we feel like we should just kind of hold tight this year, kind of keep doing what we're doing. But if there are priorities that you guys feel we should address, we want to hear it. And we can incorporate that in, when I bring numbers to you in July, it can be with and without type thing. So just let me know. If any of you have any questions financially, please call me, please stop in. I would rather explain things to you than have you not understand and vote wrong. Or, so vote not knowing all the information, I should say. So, did you have another question, Bob?
Actually, is, if we do incorporate that into meetings instead of having a special session for it, would that be released a little bit earlier than normal for the citizens to actually look over? Or would we more or less usually get it when the packets, agenda packets come out?
Usually I'm working on it up until about 2 hours before I stand at this podium, because that's how fast things change during budget season. But I can try to get out as much as I can. I don't like to put out things that then change. I don't like to put out preliminary things and get, just like, I almost hated to give the preliminary numbers tonight on the property tax assessed values, just because people get those ideas in their head. But the budget itself does not get approved until September. So even if you don't see our numbers until the meeting that night, we have another meeting where we discuss budget in August, and then we come in September to approve budget and tax rate. So by all means.
What about this last quarter of, this physical year, with considering all of the moves and stuff we've made in terms of shuffling people around and different
There's gonna be a
contracts?
savings in this year.
So it'll probably actually be, but we'll see that in this.
It'll carry forward to the next year also. We're gonna see a sizable
Yeah,
personnel.
if our general fund, which all of the staffing that has been affected is shown in, if we have a savings from the budget, that just increases our fund balance.
We'll be adding those two police,
We still budget for them,
two police.
so they're still included in our budget.
As long as
numbers.
we have an open position, I budget for it.
Yeah, we're just not expending it, but it's still in the budget number. We're just gonna end up like better off and then in at the end.
Good questions, thank you. Any other questions? Again, feel free to call me, to stop by. I'm usually sitting in there. So, I thank you for your attention on this. The exam, I guess I'm just gonna give you all A's on it, so, because I know how well you listen and understand. So,
I'm
thanks.
interested to see what, we can do, like you said, increasing that replacement fund,
Mhm.
because I don't want us to get caught in a bind having to replace something and not
Right.
have the money there.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago, we spent about $500,000 on replacement equipment for public works, that came out of fund balance. So, the thing with these reserve funds, once money goes into replacement, it's committed, okay? And we have to get you guys to give us permission to use it for anything else. Contingency fund is the same way, it's committed for emergencies or unexpected spending, but we can only spend it at your discretion. So in some ways, it's kind of a non-issue because, we could spend right out of fund balance also for replacement. But having a replacement fund with a healthy balance doesn't give us that false, thing that, oh, look how high this fund balance is. We can do this and this and this that has nothing to do with what the replacement is.
Right.
So it's telling us that our intention is that that's gonna be spent just for that. So that's why it's a good idea. It wasn't, none of these reserve funds were funded before 2019. 2021 was actually the first year they were funded. So, we're playing some catch up, but we're doing a great job. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Trish. Okay. I think I'm gonna do action there.
No, just the information.
All right, move on to B, which is consider and take possible action regarding approval of a client services agreement with HRNP Inc. for payroll, benefits administration, ACA administration, and human resources management services, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate final terms and execute all necessary documents.
Okay, Mayor and Council, I'm back. Part 2 of the Tricia Show. The previous council gave Kirsten, as city secretary, guidance that perhaps we should look for an external HR source. This came about with recent things that happened, which put Kirsten, who does our HR, in kind of a precarious situation. She was kind of caught between being an administrator of HR and being one of the employees that was affected. Also, with her promotion to city manager, right now she's still maintaining HR. I think as city manager, she has enough on her plate without HR. Laura is now city secretary. Really, she has enough on her plate as city secretary without HR. I have enough on my plate without HR. So, but with a staff as small as ours, 5 people, HR should really be objective. And it's very hard to be when you have a total workforce of 25 people and 5 decision makers or directors. We felt that the guidance that council gave her was good. So she has looked out to some different avenues. There's one, and the one that we're proposing is based in Houston. We have met with them twice. The second time they gave us a full demonstration of the software. When we went out, we were hoping it would just be HR services. They will only do HR services if they do our payroll also, because they're so intertwined. Which at first I was like, nope, I don't wanna, lose my control over payroll. But the more I think about it, I don't wanna lose my control. No. They would do our payroll processing, which includes our paychecks, all of our reporting, which you miss one report, you've got penalties and interest. Knock on wood, I've never missed one, but there's always that chance. They would do all of our compliance with payroll related things, all the compliance with HR related things. They would furnish us with an app for every employee's phone that they could put their time right in there. Right now, with Public Works, they fill out paper time sheets. They're given to Juan, our foreman, and he enters it. In my mind, I guess the accounting has drilled us into, every time somebody re-enters somebody else's work, there's a chance for a mistake. So it would eliminate that. The employee's time is going straight to who's processing it. It would also, we've had in the past some experience where because one person didn't know what the other person was doing, who didn't know what the other person was doing, we ended up getting in a bind with our health insurance. And it cost us, between legal fees and the settlement, about $200,000. I'm not saying the system would have prevented that, but I'm betting it would have. So, it's very easy, it's almost easier in a small staff for things to slip through, because we don't always know, we don't have somebody just dedicated to that task. So we got this proposal, and I think, I speak for myself, but I think I also speak for Kirsten, we were really surprised how cost effective it is. It's about $17,000 a year, $2,000 for implementation, which would be a one-time cost. I am betting that just legal fees that we incurred over the last 6 months and back when we had our insurance thing would pay for at least half of this, if not more. We don't know what type of events or happenings are gonna come down the road. But this would give us a trained HR person at our beck and call by phone call or email, all during the business hours. None of us, Kirsten and I both have HR experience, but we're not certified. HR is a college degree anymore. And we would have a person with that degree to back us up. They have legal staff that we could, if we had a question, instead of calling those expensive lawyers down in Cordova, we could call them, and it's included in our costs for easy things. If we need legal help, of course, we go to them, but they would guide us to avoid that. And let's see, I highlighted a few other things. They
We'll
would help,
also update and maintain all of our personnel policies.
Yes.
Keep them current.
they would,
Currently, we're
right at
about 10
the
years
first,
behind.
Kirsten just spent, I don't even wanna guess how many hours rewriting our personnel policy. We all got a big binder that we have never had the opportunity to look at and go through. She did it before she went out for surgery, life happened, and we haven't got to it. They would review what she did and give us their opinions and rewrite it as to meet legal standards. Not that Kirsten doesn't know what she's doing, she does, but it would be, we would know everything in it is good.
I imagine they keep that updated every year.
They do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They would administer terminations, additions, they would do our COBRA. They would administer all of our benefits. So they would work with our broker to get our renewal done for health insurance. We wouldn't have to. They would pay the bills for health insurance, dental insurance, life, all of our benefit costs. They would pay our TMRS. They would pay, I'm drawing a blank, but all of our benefit costs, they would pay. We would get one bill a month from them where we would reimburse them for that, plus their service for doing the payroll. They will do our W-2s. They can be accessed online. Like I said, they would, it would be like having an on-staff HR professional for $17,000 a year. I think it would avoid a lot of possible problems. I think it would save legal fees. I think it would save the situation Kirsten was in.
What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, what's up?
One question I would have, if this company also takes over your payroll as well, is the problem with this businesses. I know where I worked at Olin, we ran into about 4 years ago when he had these computer virus hacks. See what this company does as contingency for payment if something like that happens, because what happened out there with us, they got into some lawsuits over it, is, that virus hit, the payroll that handled us, technicians, we didn't get our our initial paycheck for that period. It took them 2 weeks, and they ran behind after that, and even then, it took them over a month to, and y'all are just like us, where, a lot of their pay here is in terms of overtime.
Yeah.
We didn't get our overtime for over, more than a month.
I mean, I would have to check in the agreement to see how that, and council approving this is not rubber stamp, but I've sent it to Jacob, but the good thing is we will not lose our ability to pay employees. We're gonna maintain Polaris, our system and our payroll system will still remain active. So we would be able to, if something happened and we're locked out, we would still be able to
We can write a
get time
paper check if we have
do a
to.
paper check. We would still maintain the ability to get employees.
When we learned that was where our problem was,
Yeah.
is they turned total control.
See,
Yeah.
and
over
we'll
that
maintain,
business.
while we
We
won't lose
maintain
control, we won't,
ownership.
we have to tell them yes when to pay. But should they get hacked and they're down in dark, we still have our internal system and Laura can be payroll and we have the ability.
We maintain ownership of all payroll records. They are in, and you can now do payroll records, digitally, so they would be digitally stored. Right now Kirsten has, folder after folder after folder for each of us. It would get rid of all that maintenance. And one thing on the flip side of thinking about getting hacked, if we are down because of a storm, this is cloud-based. The payroll can be processed anywhere. The entry into time
I
management,
think we're more likely to lose access to pay our own employees the way we are now.
yes.
Because it's, our system is in a server that's just
Yeah.
here. And if City Hall loses internet,
Right.
we don't have the ability to access our time.
So say we had a bad storm and Cliff and his guys are up wherever, taking the equipment up or whatever, they can access their payroll, through their phone. They can, it's direct deposited, the money's there.
Yeah, I reviewed the agreement, and I think, as far as like price and like services go, it's great. I think maybe today we should, if we do anything, authorize Kirsten to negotiate the kind of finer details of the terms. Because there's a few things that maybe we can push back on.
Okay, that's great.
Give them a little bit more favorable.
Oh, yeah.
But I think overall good.
So I think the reason to request it now is because we'd like to get it in place before renewal of benefits. So that way they're already, because it's a 60-day implementation. And so we would like this to be active and live prior to open enrollment for benefits. So that way they can facilitate it. And that they already have us built in their system. As Trish mentioned during our budget conversation, we have savings in our budget this year just based on the personnel transitions alone. That could cover the monthly costs until the end of September.
We would be talking 2,000 for implementation plus, about 700 for each payroll cycle through the end of the year that would not be currently budgeted, but we could pay for with the savings we've had in payroll. And then going forward, we would budget it in for next year. But Kirsten, a year or two ago, our broker got her an employee, what's it called?
Like a portal.
That we thought was gonna solve a lot of her problems, and it's subpar. So this would give us,
It's not integrated, like it allows the employee more autonomy to make adjustments and do things, but all it does is send me an email and I have to go into each individual benefit and make that change. So there's still room for error. Then I have to update their payroll for that deduction. It's just,
and I honestly don't think the city manager should be doing HR. And
it's not that
Laura,
we don't want Laura to do it, I just wanna train her to do it. If council wants to go in a different direction, should council say no, this is her baby.
Yeah.
But, I wanted to hold off until we got some council guidance, just because previous board directed this, and so I didn't want to not follow up on that just because we changed.
Are we paying an annual cost for Polaris right now?
The floors, yes, it's just all, it's really,
22,000 a year?
yeah.
How much?
I think it's 22 or 27,000 a year, something like that.
But that's not like module based, you just get everything, right?
I think so.
It's not like if we don't do the payroll part of
And
it,
so
we get.
if we got HR and P and kept Polaris, it's really the cost of HR and P and Polaris?
Mhm.
But Polaris is far more than just payroll. I mean, Polaris is everything we do. It's all of my accounting, it's all of, payables, it's all of utility billing. Payroll is a very minor part
It's
of
probably the
that.
smallest,
Mhm. And
component of the
Polaris,
system.
it's not my favorite software, although it's better than another town that I previously visited. But it's, you can't break it up into modules, like some more modern softwares, that they can be broke up into modules. Polaris is not that way. Oh, I thought you were putting it in here. So it would, and we would want to, you know, Polaris would be our backup plan, like Kirsten was saying, if something happened. But this would really alleviate a lot of potential problems. It would, in my opinion, have solved some previous problems we had, that we didn't have the capability within our small staff to avert. It's hard to have an independent HR person in a staff of 5. So, and then, you know, tax laws change, payroll laws change, HR laws change. It's just about impossible for someone that's not trained in it to stay up on it. So. Any other questions?
Did we look at anything that was just HR based versus HR and payroll?
We couldn't find any.
No, most of them are like the ADPs and paychecks, and that's all they want. They don't want to do HR.
Yeah.
I reached out to a couple of national companies, and I didn't even hear back.
And one thing we should
I think when
mention,
they hear 26 employees, it's not
Yeah.
worth it to them.
and one thing we should mention, she got the name of this company from
Like
Lake Jackson
Jackson
EMS. They
So
use
they
them
don't
and they're thrilled with them. And I like the fact that they're in Houston. They know
Every
Texas
employee
law,
goes to that office. There's
Yeah.
no
They know
remote
Texas
telework
law.
call center.
they aren't in North Dakota trying to figure out how to do something in Richwood, Texas. They're on the same
Well,
time zone as us, you know?
Yes.
I honestly don't see a down to it. I think it may at least partially be paid for by our savings.
As far as compliance goes, it would take more billable hours and, it would just cost more for us to probably go do a memo on a new law that comes out
Oh,
versus
yeah.
them
Right.
that you're already paying for, that already know about the new
Yes.
law.
That's what I would say. I can't count how many times I've had to call you or Matt just to ask a personnel question, because not that I've ever done a disservice to our employees, but it is the bottom of my totem pole of things to get done around here as city secretary, because there's so much legislative and legal requirements of the position. Just having someone on call, whether it's the employment attorney or our designated HR rep, would have saved time, because I mean, we're not your only customers either.
We're
And
not
I-
already caught up on everything.
Right.
Whatever new laws come out too.
Yeah, and he, obviously, he's a salesman, but then we also talked to one of the, is he a I don't know what.
He would actually be our lead HR person and do all of our implementation.
We will get to know these people by a first name basis. We won't, it's not like you're calling a big center of 500 people and you get somebody different every time. They will get to know our city like they would for us. Now, I sound like a salesperson and maybe I'm too gullible, but I do think this size of firm is pretty much perfect. for
And the
us.
employees can call, so say Cliff can't find his group number or something, there's a number there that they can call and ask questions, because at the moment, they're coming to me, I was like, what is my deductible on this, and I don't know, I gotta call somebody else, whereas it just cuts out the middleman there a little bit, and they handle grievances and complaints and PIPs, any improvement plans, any kind of like, it's an unbiased opinion on terminations and promotion or any kind of thing, and it just takes the personal part, 'cause we're so small, we're so close, things get personal. And
They'll
it
also,
just-
they'll also do background checks for us if we want. Pretty much a full HR department at the end of our phone or email. If for some reason we do them for a year and we're not happy with them, what?
Oh, yeah, it's a,
Year to year type thing?
well, I can't remember.
I was going to say that, again. But,
Yeah,
we
it
may
was initial 3-year agreement, but then after that, we could,
But, we maintain ownership of our employees' records.
I did ask that, if we decide this isn't working after the initial agreement, they have all of our stuff, because we then go electronic, we still own all that and would get all of that back.
Or on the flip side, they go somewhere, you know? You never know when a company might leave. I don't think they will, they've been around for a while, but, we maintain ownership of all that.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah.
Authorize the city manager to negotiate final terms and execute all necessary documents with HR&P Incorporated for payroll benefits administration, ACA administration, and human resource management services.
And I will second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank
motion carries.
Thank you. The end of the Tricia show.
Are you sure?
No.
We're tabling,
Well, I'm gonna ask the attorney for, go ahead, read it out, and then we'll see.
okay.
My mistake is really fatal.
Discussion action item C, is discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 26-541, adopting the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code, known as IPC, and amending Chapter 4, Article 1, Section 4-2 of the City of Richwood Code of Ordinances.
So this is a property maintenance code that's currently referenced in our code of ordinances already. We would just like to get it added in the same location as all of our other codes, which is, building code, mechanical, plumbing, fire, gas, electrical, swimming pools, is all referenced in one location. I need to ask you, I apparently have referenced before our new code was done, I referenced the old section it was in our agenda. It needs to be chapter 6, article 2, section 23. Does that make this a fatal item, or can we put it, is that
I think,
clerical? It's the same code that's gonna be adopted. I just don't know if I need to table this for next meeting, so I can correctly agenda it.
I think to make the actual amendment, we should, notice it with the proper chapter. Just the book.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I wanted to do cleaner, so what I would like is a motion to table this, so that way I can re-agenda it correctly. It's already adopted, this doesn't stop any work that we're doing, it's just, this is a cleanup ordinance. We already have this code in our code of ordinances, it's just not mentioning what year we use. So that's a mistake I made on this agenda. I think Kai brought it up because he couldn't find it, and chapter 4 is animals, so we don't want it there. So if I could just get somebody to motion to table this, we'll bring it back in July.
I'll make that motion that we table this until next meeting with the correct information.
Second.
Okay, all in favor to table action item C?
Aye.
Let the record reflect, the motion carries. We won't put it in the animal section.
Please don't.
Okay, items removed from that. Proceed for July. Time is now 7:15 and council will break for executive session. Open this back up. Open this back.
Nicely done.
Time is 7:44 and council has adjourned from executive session. We're back in session. Okay,
I'd like to make a motion, we appoint Mr. Dunn to fill the vacant, position number 3.
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Let the record reflect, the motion carries.
And I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to negotiate an employee separation agreement regarding former Sergeant A. Nadia Nelson.
Second.
Well, I had a hand and a voice.
Take
All right, Mr. Rao. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record reflect, the motion carries. Okay, next would be capital improvements project update.
Yeah, there's not really anything new. The only thing I wanted to inform you of is the progress on the application for the Texas Water Development Board grant that Harrison has versed everybody in. So we had a meeting with Strand and got our requirements for the grant. Basically, everything's in place, except for a water conservation plan, which is a requirement to submit an application. We do not have that. They're gonna assist us in drafting that so we can meet the deadline to submit that. That's probably gonna be a couple $1,000s more than what we anticipated for drafting that water conservation plan. But other than that, we feel we should still move forward. We did find out about some income limits, not limits, what's the word? Thresholds. There's not really a preset threshold, but we do know that the grant funding is gonna favor lower to moderate income areas. Unfortunately, Richwood doesn't really fall in that. We fall more from a $78,000 to $85,000 per year. A lot of the cities that are applying from the assistance are more than 55 to 65. So they're gonna get, of course, looked at before we do, but we still don't know what's happening with the funding and how many people are going to apply for this pool of funding. So we might be able to see something, but I think it's worth going forward, and we'll see where it goes. It could be a huge project for the city of Richwood, one we're gonna have to do anyway. So. And that's all I have.
What? Do we have any more flooding pop up that landed in your lap?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay. I appreciate you looking at the residents that reached out to me too. Okay, city manager's report.
Sorry about that. So as Trish stated, staff's doing budget prep and we're working through departmental priorities and needs for the upcoming year. We've continued the review of the fee schedule. I think Laura and Trisha have kind of narrowed it down. Me and Trish are gonna meet this week or next. And then we'll be bringing that to you in July. It's gonna have fees that we've identified that aren't direct, tied to direct costs, where we think that we might be able to find some cost savings to the customer while also not putting burden on the taxpayer for permitting. Also met with staff, with Trish and Irene for code enforcement priorities and reviewed the nuisance and dilapidated properties. Just based on our conversation, the unsafe structures are still in process. They're moving along. As Bob stated earlier in his comment, it is a process. It's not that we can just go and fix the problem. There may be costs incurred if we do get to that point from the city, which will be brought to you when it's time. I definitely will see if there's something we can do as far as barricading or doing some sort of temporary fencing, something. I think right now we're trying to get access from property owners, allowing us access to the property. We can't just go on someone's property and do these things without their approval. And then it also looks at five of the properties that need to be abated from mowing have been sent to Cliff for Public Works to take care of. So there's 5 new properties that are gonna get mowed, and I did check based on most recent social media conversation and questions, and those are listed. So we should see those getting cleaned up here soon. When his guys have some time to get over there, liens will be placed on all of those properties as the work is done. Most of you have noticed we've launched a small business spotlight initiative to highlight businesses that contribute to Richwood's economy. I'm gonna continue that. My recommendations have run out. I've done all of those, so now I'm just kind of trying to spread it out among different demographics of business. So if you have anything or you see anything, please reach out and let us know so we can spotlight them. Even if there's home-based businesses that I don't know about. We did a local baker based on a recommendation, so any of those are welcomed. We would like them to be located within the city of Richwood, so that way their sales directly affect our tax revenues, and that way the higher we can get those, ideally we can lessen the burden on the property taxes. It's not going to be overnight, but this is a start. We're also, at the request of Public Works, promoting our Report a Concern portal. So council, anyone, if you see or hear anything, or you have a resident want to make a complaint or concern about anything they see, encourage them to go to our website, to the Report a Concern portal. At the top of our page, it says Report Concern. Click that and they can enter all of their information. Staff is able to help with that, but it's kind of like a game of telephone. They call us, tell us the issue, then we have to then put it into the portal. Whereas if we can direct them to use it and make them take a little bit of the initiative to get all of their information out there, it's much easier for Public Works to address their concern. Whereas some of it may be lost in translation when they're telling the clerk to the phone. That can be for code, police, water, streetlights, trash, any concerns. And then, I'm long-winded here. I did meet with staff, and we discussed council's priorities of economic development, customer service, and the nuisance properties. We're gonna continue meeting on that weekly and see what we can do to further that. We're still transitioning administrative responsibilities. Laura and I are training every day as we can. It's kind of a downhill trickle of training, but we're getting it done. And then also, I just want to thank our staff for all their hard work. They've really been pulling their weight the last couple of weeks, helping me transition up and keeping everything still on track. Trish has kind of jumped right back in and making sure that while we are behind on our calendar, we are not behind. So I appreciate that, and all of staff trying to maintain for this next coming year and not asking for a lot of things right now, because I can't handle one more thing. But that's all I got.
Sure.
That's
Any
it.
more?
Nope.
Well,
Not
some of
much
the agenda
job.
items you need from me. 50 pages of them. Thank you for your update. Councilmember Randy Rao, would you like to add anything to tonight's meeting?
Like to see people here.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Councilmember Jordan.
Yes, I want to thank Ms. Tricia Ditto for explaining our finances. You know, we have a relatively new committee here, so they brought some light to the subject. I also want to thank Ms. Tyner and Ms. Garcia for taking their time with me. I came in, I had a little bit of an attitude this afternoon because I was confused about what was going on, but they took their time. They listened to me for over an hour and a half. They explained what I didn't understand, and they were patient with me and didn't, get upset. So I really appreciate that. I see that we have, city manager, city secretary, and, the finance manager that actually listens to us, and we do have the backing of the city behind us. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Majors.
Well, I want to recognize KRB. They've done an amazing job. I appreciate you, Cliff, helping them out with their stuff. I'm super grateful to Contu's Remodeling for the work that they've done. I'm mean, for Freeport to call Margaret and ask her to come give a presentation about what Richwood is doing is a pretty big deal to me. So hats off to Margaret, hats off to her board and all the volunteers that make the magic happen. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. A few things I'd like to add. It's starting to get hot, so I'd say make sure you stay hydrated. Secondly, I'd like to thank our police force. They've been helping me out with a bunch of dogs that have been dumped in our neighborhood, and I feel so terribly bad for those dogs because they've been great dogs. Wish I could keep them, but I told my wife she's got to go if the dogs stay. So the dogs are at a new home. I'd like to thank Trish for working diligently back on the budget. I know how much fun she has doing that. I'm surprised you still have all the beautiful hair you have
It's great.
for doing
It
that,
used to be.
but we're in a good spot because of you. I'd like to lastly thank the staff here. Seems like there's been a bunch of good vibes lately because of the changes, and I've seen it in people and the way communities interact, and we have people at meetings now. I like to see that. So thank you guys very much. It takes a team effort, and I think we have a good team. And that's all I have, so moving on to items of community interest.
So we have coming up All American Night. It's going to be Saturday, June the 27th at the park. We will have vendors there. We're going to have a taco truck this year. And so we have a lady that's going to be doing beef and chicken fajitas. We'll have our regular Lucky Lemonade lady that everybody loves. Our water slides, popcorn, and just, make it a fun, festive thing for the community that a lot of people tend to come to. And, we all work together, help, and have a great time. From Wednesday's KRB meeting, they decided to have a golf cart parade. And so that will be the Friday before, on the 26th. Kimmy Garcia will be conducting a flyer and getting that to me this week. And we will be putting it on the website, social media, and things like that. Their goal is just to have it fun and festive that evening, to start at Bobby Ford Park and then make it to Ellis Park, and where they, just kind of communicate and have fun and just gather, but just to make it fun and festive. They will have a route that they've drawn out. They're going to reach out to the police department and, others in the community that want to get involved. We will have the information hopefully by the end of the week.
I think the only thing that, other than that from the KRB meeting, is the recycling bins.
Okay.
They've been a little bit of a question regarding debris accumulating. Before we pull the plug and decide to get rid of them, I think KRB, Laura has let us know that they're going to try and move it to the small slab that's across from the PK Forest building. That's more in town and probably less visible to the
Highway
2004 traffic, that maybe people will be less likely to dump there right across from the city barn and where people are frequenting. So we're gonna move it, or have them move it, and see if that will negate some of that. If it doesn't, the next step is removal. It's just becoming a little bit of a burden on Public Works, and whether Cliff doesn't make a big deal about it or not, they shouldn't have to clean that up. For the minimal benefit, it's not a minimal benefit, but if they're not putting the correct items in there, they're not being recycled, they're just being put in the trash. So it's not, no one's winning in the situation. So that's that. So if there's any questions or thoughts on that, just let me know. But that's what we're gonna try and do in the near future here.
I had two individuals in the past 30 days ask about these brush piles that are on.
We're working on it.
I didn't know if that is even brought up, and I said, all we can do is ask.
It has been. I had let code enforcement know, and she's sending notices. I told her to give it a week to see what heavy trash did, if they made any dent in it or even touched it. It being on the highway is difficult.
Yeah.
At some point, TxDOT's not gonna be thrilled with it. So we're starting the process on that.
Okay.
Because I I've said it a few times the last week that I want it gone, but we're working on it.
Fine.
What is the start time for All American Night?
6 p.m. I think it's 6 to 9.
6 to 9? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Rocky gonna be there?
Richie?
See if you remember his name.
Oh, I know his name.
Richie Michael, I believe.
Richie
Oh.
Michael Wood will be there.
That was the last term.
Laura's city secretary, so she can fit in it now.
You better.
My
Where-
child's too tall now. He doesn't fit in the costume.
We'll find a little person.
He's been promoted to Easter Bunny.
So future agenda items was the one thing up there.
We'll have a fee schedule review on the agenda, and then we'll bring back the property maintenance code.
Okay.
And probably, and there'll be another budget discussion, and probably other things. We'll swear in Mr. Dunn also.
Okay, time being 8 p.m. and no other action items or items to discuss. Meeting is adjourned.